Yo, what's going on, guys? Mike Hill, the Wholesaling Titan here. And in today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to get a seller to name their asking price first when wholesaling real estate. Now, if you are a wholesaler, this is a crucial part of your skill set to help you get better deals, gain more leverage when it comes to negotiating, and it helps you to qualify prospects faster so you're not wasting any time. And I can't stress how crucial this is, right? Most people nowadays are so focused on things like the lists, the software, AI. And look, that stuff is great. It has its place. I use it all in my business. But there are so many things like just the simple psychology behind interacting with sellers that most people simply do not talk about. And if you don't know what I'm about to show you, you're not going to be closing many deals, if any at all. So before I jump into it, if anybody wants to work with me, mentorship, JV deals, the link is in the description for more information and also to book a free one-on-one phone call with me. Just last week, matter of fact, I sold a deal for one of my students. Shout out to Ali for a $17,000 assignment fee in less than 48 hours. The cool thing about this deal is that he lives in California. The deal about 4 hours from where I live in Florida, sold in 48 hours. None of us saw the deal, okay? And it was no money down. So if you're serious about this, check out that information below. Let's do some business. Okay, so today's video. We always want our seller to name their price first. And the first thing you have to start with is mindset. Remember that we're not trying to work with everyone. We're not trying to convince anyone to sell to us at a discount. You are dealing with motivated sellers, people who need to sell, not want to sell. And you have to have the mindset that you are willing to walk away from the deal. Again, they need you. They have one house to sell. You don't need them. You have hundreds of thousands that you could potentially buy. So one of my favorite exercises for my students is to have them go to YouTube and watch clips from the show Pawn Stars, because we're essentially a pawn shop for real estate. Now in the show, you're going to notice that every seller walks in and they say, well, how much do you want for the item? And they'll say, well, how much do you want to give me? What's your best offer? And 100% of the time, the owners turn it back on them and the seller concedes and gives a price. And if they don't, or if the owner is not happy with it, or the seller's not happy with it, they're more than happy to just shake hands and let that seller go about their way. So observe, emulate, and practice how they do this. Now, number 2 is going to be tonality. And I'm going to build on this with some examples as we go along. But how you speak to your sellers is far more important than what you say. Communication experts will tell you that about 7% of our communication is the words that we say, and about 93%, man, things like body language and tonality. Now, if we're on the phone, we don't have the luxury of eye contact or body language, but we can express a lot through our tone. Now, inherently, you know that if I say to you, get out of here versus, get out of here, there's a very big difference in the meaning. And this is going to come into play in a second when I give you some specific sample responses. So the most common pushback that you're going to get on a call, particularly if it's a cold call, and this script, this framework, by the way, is geared towards cold calling. For warm leads, you can jump to price much sooner. But anyway, the response is usually going to be some form of, well, you called me, you make me an offer first. Or what's your offer? Or I'm interested if the price is right? This is one of many objections that you're going to get. And the first step is to anticipate this. You should expect this reaction. Also, if you guys want to download my free guide on overcoming objections, it gives you a general framework for dealing with any type of pushback, as well as the exact words to say to the 13 most common objections that you'll hear as a wholesaler. It also comes with a copy of my cold calling script, which is unique in that it indicates not only the words to say, but it gives you instructions on how to say them. So you can download those for free at wholesalingwithmike.com/script. Okay, so the seller says to you, you make me an offer first. The first part of our response is that we always agree and understand where they're coming from. And it's funny because I was role playing this with a group of students last week. And one of the guys said, one of my students, well, I can't do that because I have to send this to my underwriters to get your offer price. That's actually a pretty common response in this business. And that's actually the way that I was taught to do this. And it can work. Worked for me for years. But it's not the best way. And so first, with this response, the first piece of this is that you never ever tell a seller that you can't do anything. Whatever they need, you can do it. Okay. I had a situation where a lady needed a moving company. I said, I get the best moving company for you. Now, I didn't know one. All right. I didn't have one in mind, but it wasn't dishonest in that I went to Google, looked at the 5-star reviews, called, I got pricing, and figured out the best moving company for her. We are problem solvers. My second problem with this response is that I don't like to defer any responsibility to somebody else, right? I am the decision maker here. I am the authority here. And in any type of relationship or transaction, there's like this hierarchy, right? A power dynamic of who is in control, of who needs who, and you want to establish and maintain that. It's not only important now, but you want to keep that frame because it will help you in negotiating later down the line. And again, this goes back to mindset, right? I'm in control, they need me. And then the last piece of this is that I don't want to introduce any more time into the equation. If you use the excuse of needing to talk to your underwriting team, most often the seller is going to say, okay, go talk to them and then get back to me. And then you're going to be in pretty much the same situation when you call them back, and that's if you even get them on the phone. Anytime you introduce delays, you decrease your chances of getting the property under contract. I mean, obviously there was some criteria that made you call them as them being motivated. And who's to say that like another wholesaler doesn't call them and lock that deal up before you get another chance to touch base? Now, I'm not saying that if you use this excuse, it can't work, right? I'm proof of that. But, maybe it's a last ditch effort, especially if you're dealing with a difficult seller. Although that probably means they're not terribly motivated anyway. And also, this is something that is fine for a virtual assistant to say, but this is no longer my default response. There are things that just work much, much better. So the seller asks for my offer and I'm going to respond favorably. Of course, right? Of course, I'd love to get you the offer. I just need to get a little bit more information about the property. So you see how now we're in agreement? And now I'm just going to confirm the details on the property to make sure that the numbers work, right? Get the condition of the house that I'm going to need to pass on to my buyers. And I'm also gaining credibility by showing that I'm not just like throwing a random number on a sight unseen property. I'm doing my due diligence. But most importantly, during this time is where I'm going to be building rapport. So even if I'm not like bonding over lifestyle, just the time that you spend with an individual typically has a direct correlation with how comfortable they feel with you. So at this point, you get the information about the property and its condition, you understand their motivation, their timeline, and then you're going to ask them how much they want for the property. Now, don't feel weird about this, man. This is key. So many of my students do initially, but think about it, right? If you go to the grocery store, everything has a price on it. Man, there's a gas station not too far from me, and they have no prices on anything. So annoying. But think about it, right? If you're selling a property on the MLS, it has an asking price. So this is normal, and that should give you a little bit of confidence when you're asking this question. Now, the next part is to ask the question expectantly. No hesitation, no being tentative. How much are you looking to get? And then just be quiet. And here's the thing, from the time that we're children and dealing with parents and teachers and eventually bosses, we are subconsciously trained that when someone asks us a question expectantly, usually someone in a position of authority, that we are to answer it. So first part, again, just ask directly and ask expectantly. Now, oftentimes, you still won't get the price immediately. That's fine. Remember, we anticipate that, so, it depends on if the price is right. Right? And at that point, we're going to be persistent and we're going to essentially ask them the same question over and over, but in different ways, right? I call these different like psychological loops. So the first one I use is, sure, but what's the general ballpark you're thinking about, right? I'm just trying to get a ballpark idea. And the key here is to say this as nonchalant as possible, as if it's just not a big deal, right? Yeah, what's the general ballpark? And you'll notice like the inflection in my voice goes up here. And at this point, again, casual, not a big deal, just a general idea, just a general ballpark. And at this point, a lot of people will at least give you a range. And if they don't, then you can move into some more probing questions. Like, well, do you have any idea what similar properties are selling for in the area? Might even say, oh, okay. And are those retail sales? I'm kind of hinting, but But then, after your probing questions, the next part, this is the biggest thing I want you to take away, usually where I see the strongest shift and the seller ultimately gives me their asking price. And I'm calling it the BTS method because everything needs a name. See, when you're talking to your sellers, and again, in this scenario, we're talking to them cold, they don't know you, all right? And most people have a wall up. And it's common knowledge at this point that whoever names their offer price first loses in negotiations, right? It's kind of common knowledge now. Everyone knows that, so people don't do it. And even if you've done a good job at building rapport, you don't fully have their trust. So what you want to do is you want to be totally transparent. And this is like the right thing to do anyway. But I want them to feel like I'm taking them behind the scenes, right? Like I'm sharing a secret with them that I don't disclose to everyone. So I'm going to slow down my speech and even my volume, right? Again, like I'm telling a secret. So they kind of perk up. And I'll say something like, so Joe, right? I want to be really transparent with you here. Like I mentioned, I am an investor, right? I'm not going to be occupying the property. I am looking to purchase in the area to make a profit. So basically, we're going to come in, we're going to rehab the property, we're going to resell it on the market. You can explain things like your rehab costs, closing costs, you're taking on insurance, risk, you got to pay out commissions, and you still need to make a profit. And you can even say, that's why we reach out directly to avoid involving any realtor commissions. But right off the bat, you're letting them know that you don't buy retail and you have to buy at a discount. And it's perfectly fine for you to say to them, again, showing your non-neediness, that you are not desperate. So look, if you're looking for a retail offer, I would recommend, I'm not going to be the guy for you. I would recommend you probably list this with a realtor. And you can even help refer them to a listing agent and kind of walk them through the process, educate them a little bit, right? So you're going to need to do XYZ repairs you told me about. You're going to sign a listing agreement, host open houses and showings, pay a realtor commission. It's probably going to take about 3 months to sell, maybe a little bit longer since we're in a buyer's market right now. But if you're okay with doing all that, that's probably going to be the best option for you. Again, I'm not your guy. But if it is important for you to, insert what they told you earlier about their motivation, right? I got to go in 30 days, right? If it's important for you to get out of here in 30 days, I can absolutely make that happen. But I just want to be upfront because, again, I am buying this as an investment. The price that I'm going to want, it's going to be lower than what you want. And I don't want to insult you. I don't want to waste your time. And I'm only interested in doing this deal if it's a win-win. So, I can make a little bit of profit. You walk away happy. And based on everything that you told me, I'll try my best to get to your number. And I really think there's potential to come up with a mutually beneficial agreement here. And then you're going to state your USP, restate your USP. That's your unique selling proposition. So again, if I pay all cash, take care of all the repairs, you can leave anything you want on the property. We handle all the junk removal. We get you out of here in 2 weeks. What's going to work for you, right? What's the number that's going to work for you? And then again, just shut up. And then once you get the number, even if it's a great one, don't jump for joy, right? I like to give a little, okay, man, and is that the best you can do? And then again, just shut up, right? And then also know that whatever number comes out at that point, it's not really their lowest number, right? No one gives their absolute bottom when you're asking these questions. So whatever number they give you, you can feel comfortable even making your offer price a little bit lower than that, okay? Now, another thing I like to do, especially if there's some hesitancy on the seller's part or if they're unwilling to commit, is to inject some scarcity, right? A sense of urgency and kind of like a fear of missing out, a little bit of FOMO, right? Because remember, these folks, they should be motivated. They've got a problem, they've got a headache, and they want it gone. But you don't just come out and say, hey, man, it's now or never. Take it or leave it. But I kind of want to convey that. So I'll say something like, well, we are calling all homeowners in the area to see if anyone is interested in selling. We're going to be buying 2 more before the end of the month. And, of course, like I told you, I'm an investor. I do have to do what's in my best interest. But based on everything that you've shared with me, I think there's some potential for us to do something here. And when you kind of frame it like that, it's like this subtle way of letting them know, like, listen, man, you can't just shop this around for the next 5 months and then come back to me as your last option. Right? I'm not always going to be here. You have a problem. I can solve it right now. But you got to jump on this opportunity before, otherwise I'm going to give it to someone else. And then also by saying that part about like, I have to do what's in my best interest, like people understand that, but it also builds more trust because you're being honest with them and being honest in a way where many people in your place probably wouldn't. But at the same time, it also tells them, like, hey, man, you got to come correct, right? I'm not going to go back and forth playing games. You have to give me basically your best price. Because again, if somebody else gives me a better opportunity, I have to take it. Okay. Um, so again, you're not saying, man, take it or leave it, but you're putting them in a place where they risk losing out on the solution to their problem. And yeah, right, they kind of have to make a decision. So this is like my general script and formula for getting sellers to name their price first. There are obviously other ways to do this. You don't necessarily need to say every line I gave you verbatim. You can cut out some parts, expand on others. I just really wanted to give you guys an overview of what this looks like and what we're trying to convey here. So practice this, do your role play, get on phone calls. If you guys have any questions on this, or if you want to share something that you do, I encourage you, please put that down in the comments section below. If you guys want to grab my other scripts as well as step-by-step instruction on how to set up and run your entire wholesaling business, you can grab access to my entire wholesaling university. Again, this includes my updated course, the contracts, scripts, calculators, cheat sheets, forms, over 20 plus hours of video stuff. You can get it all for free at wholesalingwithmike.com, 100% for free forever. That also comes with a 7-day free trial to my AI marketing software, REI Titan. It's basically done for you. Do all your marketing, your follow-up, all that good stuff. And you can also come, there's an invitation for come hang out in one of my group coaching calls, right? So small, intimate group, exclusive trainings that I can't and don't do here. And it's a small, intimate space. You can ask me your questions and I will answer all of them for you. Okay. You can check all that stuff out at wholesalingwithmike.com. On that note, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please let me know, what topic should I cover next? What video do you want to make, see me make next? Let me know in the comments section down below. Until then, thank you guys again for watching. Best of luck to you. And I don't know, I'll see you in the next one. All right. Peace.